I would like to introduce to you Supervisor Mark Ridley-Thomas. Give him a huge hand.
Well, thank you very much. Are there any Democrats in the House? Oh, look at here, you can do better than that. Are there any Democrats in the House? I'm delighted to be here at Jefferson High School. This is a special place for a lot of reasons. I was born not far from here. I was raised at 1473 East 43rd Place. I could walk here. I went to Carver Junior High School. My sisters and brothers went to Jeff, so I know something about Democrats. And I'm glad to be here with you today. But I'm glad to be here with you because of this special subject. And how many of you know that it's a special subject? It's an important subject. Raise your hand if you believe that and know that. This matter of mental health and what we can do is very, very important. And we have individuals here who have made it their point to provide examples for each and every one of you. And so we thank Dr. Southern for being here and his leadership in the County of Los Angeles, heading the Department of Mental Health. We obviously thank your principal for his being on the point and facilitating this conversation with us today. And we certainly wish to thank Ron Artest for his bold, creative, forthright presence in saying that there is nothing to be ashamed of, deal with it, and you will lead a better life as a result of it. Give them all a big round of applause. Well, it's not necessary to go for a long time feeling sad. It's not necessary to feel unnecessary anxiety, fear, anger, stress, loneliness. How many of you have felt any of those things? I have. Have you felt any of those things at any particular point in time? There are ways to deal with that. And part of what we are saying today is listen up, dial into this conversation, get the help that you need, help others get the help that they need, and the quality of your life will be better for it. I can say to you that I've been a big advocate of community, that is school-based clinics. The more we have on campuses, the better for students. Do you believe that? Are you a part of that movement? The more school health centers. So when I was in the legislature, spent time in Sacramento writing legislation to make sure that we had these services on campus. So you can immediately, efficiently access them. And you know what? Because of that, more students have been willing to take advantage of mental health services. And so all the stigma and all the unfortunate, in many ways silly talk about people acting weird and so forth, look, if that's the case, seek help. Repeat after me. Seek help. Say it real quietly. Seek help. Now say it loudly. Seek help. Seek help. It's just that simple. Now, the point to be made is it has to be available, right? If someone tells you to go somewhere and get some help and there's no help to be gotten, what have you done? You just sent somebody on a wild goose chase. And that's not what we want to do. And so today is in part an opportunity to offer you examples, offer you resources, offer you hope. And I'm simply delighted to be here with you today, and God bless you all.
At this time, Ron Artest, Laker World Champion! Yeah!
Somebody said Queensbridge. That's where I'm from, if nobody knew that. I'm happy to be here today. You know, when I first was kind of disturbed by things that was happening in my household, in my life, with frustration, with stress, you know, maybe feeling a little bit sad or whatever, you know, I dealt with it different ways. People in my household dealt with it different ways. Some people didn't get the help that they needed right away. And so as I'm here now today, I was at a point in my life where I was trying to, you know, figure it out. You know, just be a student, you know, of my life, be a student, you know, like of my mind. You know, why do I feel the ways that I feel? You know, so if you look early in my career, you know, when I was a kid, basketball was like therapy for me. I was playing basketball every day. But then there was problems that I was still having, whether it was at home or in my community, where basketball started to work against me. So the passion that I played with on the court, it kind of turned negative. So I had to find a way to make it positive. So I had to reach, you know, really sit down with myself and figure out, you know, how can I become, you know, stronger mentally, not just physically. You know, I can be on the court, you know, and I can, you know, probably bully my way to the basket or get mad if somebody fouls me and want to start a fight, maybe because I'm stronger than that person. But that's just, you know, that's all negative. How can I change that and make that all positive? And that's just speaking from the sports side, you know, of mental health. And actually, me going out and getting help, it actually helped me on the court. I'm able to play more relaxed now, and that's a major part of my life. The other major part of my life is my kids. I have 4 children, so if I'm not doing the right things, you know, on the court or off the court, I'm getting too excited about things, and usually excitement leads to quick reaction decisions. You know, that 1 second can get you in a world of trouble, you know, for who knows how long, a week, a month, a year. You know, so it's also important that I become stronger mentally, you know, for my kids also. So in my household, I seen both sides of mental health issues. I seen the mental illness part, or maybe the psychiatry part, where medicine was necessary. And in my household, I seen the part where a psychologist was necessary. You know, so I have one of my aunties was she was like in the psychiatry part of the mental health, you know, issues that I was a part of. I had a little brother who had anger management issues, and he's 28 now, and he's just realizing that he needs to get help with his anger and relax a little bit. You know, I took 4 different type of therapy sessions with different counselors. I had parenting counseling. I had my first baby when I was 16, going on 17 in high school. So I was a young parent, and I was trying to do well in school. I was trying to get to college so I could get to the NBA. So I was not focused on, you know, being a dad. I was more focused on being, you know, in the NBA. And at that time, my parents separated when I was 13. So I really didn't have the development, you know, of being a dad, you know. You know, my dad was away, but he was there for me every day, but he wasn't home telling me, you know, son, when you do become a dad, you know, it's gonna be important, you act a certain way. So I was a dad how I knew how I wanted to be a dad. So I had parenting class, I had marriage counseling. Because after I got married, after I got to the NBA years later, my marriage wasn't strong, so I had to get marriage counseling, and I also had anger management counseling. You know, and doing all that, the marriage counseling helped me the most. It helped me with, I had different, all my therapists had different ways of, you know, of teaching me. me, so to speak. You know, how to control my anxiety, my frustrations, or if I'm stressed out for any given reason. And so I thought it was important. 5 years ago, I was in Sacramento, and I was telling people that I saw, psychologists, and people didn't really, they just kind of laughed. And I was trying to do this, what I'm doing here today, trying to do sessions with kids and seeing how can we relate to each other, seeing how can y'all relate to each other, seeing if anybody here that's friends or even not friends have the same issues or frustrations, stress, or anxiety, and maybe, y'all can share y'all issues with each other. And that's what I was trying to start 5 years ago, but it took me to win a ring to really get it out there. And then when I said it after I won a championship, I said I would like to thank my psychiatrist. Actually, she's a psychologist. I didn't know the difference. That was last year. But I was just, so happy because as an NBA player, I'm about 3-4 years removed from making bad decisions. I had a big problem in Detroit, one of the biggest fights in history, and that's like 5 years ago. So I was in transition to becoming the person I am today. And even before that big fight I had, we was on our way to go to the championship to play the Lakers in 2004 when Detroit beat the Lakers. In Game 6, I made a decision because somebody hit me. And we was winning the game. Somebody threw an elbow at me, so I reacted. I threw an elbow back. So that resulted into a flagrant foul, a technical foul, 2 free throws, and they scored. They went up 4 points. It was like a minute and a half left. And they went on to play the Lakers in the championship. So I didn't want that to happen again. Yeah. Because I knew how intense I can get in the playoffs. So I saw my psychologist throughout the road last year in Phoenix, when we was in Phoenix in certain games, in Utah, and right before Game 7, we had a long session, about an hour long, right before I went to the game. I wanted to make sure if I get in any situation that I was able to, I needed help to deal with it, because I know myself, I get a technical foul, I'll start wanting to fight, and then I want to win. I want to win, on the court, I want to win off the court, So with that said, I thought it was important. That I tell people, exactly what I was doing, And at first people was like, Ron Artest is crazy, blah, blah, blah. But I thought, I know that it was going to empower people that heard that message. Yeah. Because I believe, there's a couple of reasons why I said what I said also. I want to thank my psychologist, because I think the youth in America, like y'all the strongest thing that we have going for us. Because as you can see, our country is slowly becoming less powerful than the other countries, even from the technology jobs, and even from ways to find out, how to help the environment with the pollution and stuff. We can't figure it out. And we made it worse for you and for the younger generation. So how can the youth, win in the future without being mentally tough? Most people can win probably in the jail system, a fight, and that's what we don't want. We want you to win, out the jail systems, out the juvenile, systems. And so it's important that, every now and then take some time to yourself, figure out where you're at in your life. Are you still trying to reach your goals? And if you are sidetracked, you got to figure out why. Why am I sidetracked? Why did I want to be a doctor my sophomore year, and now I'm in 12th grade and I don't have those same goals? Yeah. So you sit back and you think about it. Or why am I in detention? It took me, I've been doing counseling since I was 13 years old, actually. My mom, once my parents broke up, my life started to go a little bit to the left. my mom said, you need a psychologist, and I went to go see this guy, I forget his name, but he was great for me. So I was seeing somebody in high school, college, and all the way throughout, even right now. I still speak to my psychologist to this day about different issues, I kind of fixed a lot of other stuff that I had to fix in my life. So we just talk about different things about the game, which is pretty cool. But it's a small issue. Maybe I'm in a court and I'm bothered by somebody, so I'll call her about it right away. Or it could be a big issue. But the main thing, you don't want that small issue to kind of like snowball and become a big issue. And sometimes you don't even have it's not even your fault. Because some people probably grew up like me without parents, through the whole way. I know some of my friends grew up with their mom and dad, but the majority of my friends didn't grow up with their mom and dad or just their mom, And it's also important, especially the boys, the males in here, it's important that when you become older, and I've been telling this message that almost everywhere I've been, that you know you have to be a good dad. Because I think personally, I think that's the main problem for mental health issues, is the lack of dads in the household. So it's not your fault, it's probably not anybody's fault, but it's something that should be on your mind, Like when I get older, I want to be a basketball player, or I want to be a rapper. It's also important that you take the time to say, when I get older, I want to be a good dad. And then you will be able to speak to your children. Some people don't have a dad to speak to, or if they do, they don't know what to say, feel uncomfortable. So like I said, a small problem, even if it could be something like maybe I used to wear the same clothes to school every day, and people used to tease me. I never spoke to nobody about it, and that built up. So then I would get into a fight, get suspended. Because I didn't communicate it with anybody. So that's a small issue, then it gets bigger and bigger, and now you find yourself suspended every year. I got suspended every year from kindergarten all the way to college. I got suspended every NBA. I got suspended every single year. And so that comes from anxiety, probably stress, frustration, and it's things that could be prevented. It's things that could be prevented. The other thing I won't speak on, because I'm not experienced at speaking on, is the psychiatry part. And that's something where, Councilman spoke on the best, you see something different or not ordinary about one of your peers or your friends, and you might want to help them out by talking to them, and you see if you can get them help. My experiences is more with things that my buddies go through. Like I say, frustration, stress, and so one of my buddies, he was a great basketball player. Last year I had Chatty. I don't know if y'all saw, I had Chatty on the side of my head. I cut with a haircut. And it's one of my best buddies, he played basketball, kind of taught me how to play basketball. But he got murdered the morning before, I think it was Christmas, he got murdered the morning. We both 30 years old, but it was like his last straw. He started dealing when he was 16 years old and tried to go back and play basketball and go to college, but went back to the streets. Should have been in the NBA, but he wasn't mentally tough enough, to think about, what he wanted to do with his life. Or he might not have had his dad in his life to even talk to. So you get that. I had one of my other best friends, he was a straight A student. In elementary through junior high school through high school. Straight A student and a good basketball player. But for some reason, he wanted to sell drugs. It was totally crazy. He had straight A's, SATs, totally passed, really, really easy. But wanted to hustle. And he got murdered at upstate New York in a transaction. So if you sense that, it's different situations, and that's probably not a mental illness. That's probably not having somebody to communicate. His mom was actually on drugs. And I never even met his dad. And I knew him since I was a kid. You know, so that's situations where, you know, I'm not sure who's in the situation, or you can be around one of your friends and you can just kind of monitor and make sure your buddy's all right. You know, make sure your buddy's doing okay, and you know, if they need somebody to talk to, it might be you. You know, it might be the person right next to you. So I say all that, but you know, making yourself mentally tougher, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. It'd be good if they go on YouTube. We got this thing on YouTube. So UCLA Health Clinic, YouTube, run our test, UCLA Mental Health Clinic, right? And you could see some of the kids that we were speaking to. And one kid was on there saying, you know, at first he was embarrassed. And he's on meds, all right? He was like, he's embarrassed, you know, and he said when he heard my message, he wasn't as embarrassed no more. But it's important that, you know, to make yourself stronger mentally, you know, and it could be, like I said, it could be a small thing. It don't mean you're crazy. It could be, maybe you had a problem with your teacher, you know, and you don't know how to communicate it. You know, you can speak to somebody, your dad, you know, mom, brother, uncle, cousin, teacher, counselor, and if all that fails, maybe go see a psychologist, you know, a counselor, you know, and just so you stay on track, you know. So you stay on track.